Serious, what is a skill that most people could learn within a matter of days that would prove the most useful? How to budget, short term, weekly, monthly, and long term. Basic cash flow analysis, looking at cash in and cash out. Being able to look at an aggregate basis. That $1.50 ATM fees may seem small, but what happens when you add them up over the year? Suddenly you're shocked that $250 went to paying ATM fees. If you get paid $20 HR, that means you could spend 12 hours to research and change to a new bank account with no fees and still come out ahead. Simplistic model, but you did say a few hours days. This should be at the top. I helped my parents save $20k a year by using Mint. Reviewed their transactions, organized them all, found what they were wasting money on and put them on a budget. They hardly noticed it, just spent wiser. I'm at the point where I can't wait to graduate and start a career just so I can organize my finances, as pathetic as that sounds. How to quickly and effectively get results from Google. The internet is incredibly vast, and knowing how to get a specific piece of information out of the sea is invaluable. Sewing. It's such a great skill. You can fix clothes, or close some fat gash you get from fighting a bear. It is also a very calming and soothing skill, except sewing a belt loop back onto jeans. Freaking needle go through the freaking fabric bee. Routine car maintenance. Working in the transportation industry, I see people waste hundreds, sometimes thousands of dollars on trivial purchases suggested by friendly mechanics. Changing oil, jumping batteries, even changing tires. All simple enough to learn from YouTube for the most part. Just make sure to pay attention to the positive and negatives. Knots. A bowline, square knot and sheep shank can get you places. Definitely agree with this one, but don't bother with the sheep shank. Its only real purpose is to shorten a line and it will fail under too much load. You really only need to know 2 knots, bowline and square. And if you want to throw in a little more, throw in 2 hitches, clove and truckers. Swimming. Learn the right way and you can be swimming in under a week. Learn the wrong way and in less than an hour you will have a lifelong phobia of water. Worst lessons I ever got subjected to. On the bright side, while everyone is partying in the ocean, I can work the grill real good. How to make one cocktail. For example, a really good Manhattan or sangria. One nice meal with dessert. For example, salmon with a nice sauce, veggies, rice and apple crisp. One casual meal. For example, chili. One baked good. For example, banana bread or brownies. And one dish that will be a hit, a potluck. For example, rice pilaf. Very well, and make it your own. Whatever is required of you as a host or guest is taken care of, for the most part, for the rest of your life, and you will execute it with distinction. Organization. In 7th grade we were emptying out our lockers and all 3 lockers next to me had an avalanche of papers, books and jackets. It took all the class and I just had to pick out a post-it note. I would take this a step further. 5S. A method for organization. Sort, get rid of anything you don't need. Straighten, a place for everything, and everything in its place. Sanitize, clean the area. Standardize, create a level of expectation for the area. Sustain, keep it this way. Making 2 types of kits. One that could save your life, and one that is just so dang convenient you will never know what you did without it. Learn how to build a survival kit. Take a few days and read about all of the uses and supplies in such a small container. Your best sources will be SAS Survival and Army Seer. Such a small packet could save your life one day, or someone else. Also keep an extra one in your car. A small travel bag with utilities in it that you take with you if you plan to stay somewhere. Maybe you're going on a day trip, going to a party, or you're staying at a girl's house. What you will need: toothbrush, travel toothpaste, deodorant, shaving supplies, floss, headache medicine, antacid tablets, mini soap shampoo, fingernail clippers, eye drops, condoms, gum, $20 in cash, extra phone charger. Also how to have a good, get out of Dodge, bag or bug out bag. In the event of a weather incident like today's storms in Indiana and Illinois, having some basic amenities can really help ease the stress mental anguish of the situation. CPR. I would also suggest first aid in general. While CPR is useful, the chances you'll need it are much lower than, say, how to stop someone from bleeding or to help someone who is in shock. I have never had to use my CPR training, but I've used first aid many times. Picking locks. I learned how to pick padlocks with bobby pins and a piece of a pen cap from YouTube videos, then got a real set and learned how to pick most other common locks. Seriously, pick a friend's lock when he forgets his keys and you're the most baddest mother sucker there. I can pick basic padlocks and stuff. Never tried a front door with a cheap set I get online. It's a pretty satisfying feeling. The only time it's ever really come in handy is when a girl at work left her drawer key at home and needed to get into it, but those are crappy locks that I just use a couple of paper clips on. She was still impressed. Was badass. How to talk to new people. Cooking basic meals. I am looking at you lazy college students. Adding on to this, learning to do the dishes. Basic logic rules and common fallacies. This will greatly improve your analytic capabilities, which will very likely save you from many a dumb argument, irrational beliefs, being manipulated, etc., etc. How to properly tie a tie. You will probably use the skill throughout life. The most important thing that private school taught me. How to type properly. The amount of 2 or 3 finger typing I still see is ridiculous. How to listen. It honestly takes seconds. Instead of interrupting what the other person is saying to prove your point, try waiting and listening to what they are saying first. It's weird that this isn't a more common skill yet. Most people do not listen with the intent to understand. They listen with the intent to reply. Stephen R. Covey. Critical thinking. I'm not even joking. Proper use of spices. Good taste and bad taste can really be perfect amount and too much spice. What always threw me off is that spices come in large shakers, so either you can put them in just like salt. On some things a small pinch on a large pot can be enough. My dad uses 18 ingredients in his famous homemade spaghetti and has always been incredibly meticulous when adding spices. He has tried to show me, but I always add too much coriander, haha. Microsoft Office. Basic computer skills will open a multitude of doors for anyone. How to drive a stick shift. It takes at the very most 45 minutes to learn well enough to drive in an emergency situation, and it could save your life, but for some reason a lot of people just don't want to learn. The problem is having a car to learn on. The basics of economics on a macro and micro level. Understand how our banking and financial sector works. Generally, understand how sovereign currency systems work. Understand what our national debt is and isn't. Know how to think about problems in your life in terms of marginal analysis and opportunity cost. It takes maybe a few online lessons to get the basics, but you'll be a smarter voter and consumer for life. Your rights during a police stop. And more importantly, when to bring it up. Sometimes it's more important to not pee off the police officer than to invoke all of your rights to the letter. Cooking simple meals. Changing a flat tire with a spare. It's a lost art. Along with that, periodically check the pressure on your spare so it's useful if you need to use it. How to properly mop a floor. The difference between your and your, there and there, its and its, effect and affect, etc. These are really simple to me, except effect and affect. I can never remember which is which. This is why I'm an engineering major. How to paint a room. You'll probably have to do it more than a few times in your life, and it's not as straightforward as just mashing a roller against a wall as hard as you can. Spent a week painting the rooms of our house. Frick that. Meditation reduces stress. You feel, think and act better across the board. The phonic alphabet. Alpha Bravo Charlie. Knowing how to figure out the day of the week for a date. The easiest way is to remember which day of the week dates that are a multiple of 7 land on for the next 2 months. For example, right now you should know that the multiples of 7 land on Thursdays, the 5th day of the week, in November, and on Saturdays, the 7th day of the week, in December. When you want to know which day of the week a date lands on, you just use the nearest multiple of 7 to figure it out. For example, let's say you want to know which day of the week the 25th of December lands on. You know that the 28th is on the 7th day of the week. The 25th is 3 days before this, meaning it is on the 4th day of the week. BC 7-3 equals 4, which is Wednesday. After you force yourself to use this method for a couple of days, you become nearly instantaneous at it. Makes you amazed that you ever had to look at calendars. It also has a tendency to amaze people. Doesn't work if you don't know how long each month is. Basic gun safety. Sewing, cooking, basically home ec class. Soldering, and driving a forklift. You have either of those, and good English skills, you will probably never be unemployed for more than a week. More than just CPR. Basic patient assessment. It's important to determine quickly, in less than 30 seconds, if someone truly has a life-threatening injury or illness, and it is incredibly simple to do. Included in this would be how to properly report a medical emergency to emergency personnel. How to make fire without anything, maybe a flint and steel. Also how to make freaking chocolate. Alright, you take say a can of some sort. I use the little mini paint cans. Now cut up some blue jeans and stuff it semi-full. Now poke 3 holes in one side and 1 on the other. Set in a fire for 15-45 minutes and check every now and then. Once it's turned dark black, you have chocolate. The stuff burns amazingly well. The tiniest spark will make a red hot ember. Blowing on it causes it to burst into flames. I keep a can of it pre-made in my truck and in my saddlebags of my bike, along with a flint, magnesium fire starter and compass. Cause you know, I learned that I'm dang well not gonna be caught without it. TLDR, people from the south will find a way to survive. Manners. How to make a fist, and then punch something. I know it seems aggressive and violent, but it's better to be safe than sorry, especially if you live in a bad neighborhood. If you have time, practicing groin kneeing and running would also be practical. My top 10 easily learned skills. 1. Start a campfire using a magnesium flint keychain fire starter and a knife. 2. Learn how to strain, boil, and otherwise purify water in a survival scenario. 3. Learn how best to react to all wild animals in your region. 4. Climb a tree using assistance from equipment. 5. Build a small raft. 6. Build a small shack. 7. Learn to identify and prepare common wild edibles. 8. Learn how to catch fish using a worm and hook. 9. Build a small animal trap. 10. Learn safe, proper technique for pistols and rifles. These are likely to be extremely useful in a survival situation, and not useful at all otherwise. Computer care, defragmentation, program management, but especially cooling system cleaning. I don't know how many people have asked me to help them with their computers because they are slow and or overheating, but I take them apart, which always gets the owner panicky, and there's this thick mat of dust clogging the heatsink. Cleaning your heatsink, which requires literally only a can of compressed air, should be done once a month. 90% of computer problems can be blamed on clogged vents. Computers are machines, not magic. They need to be maintained, just like a car. Basic cooking and butcher skills. The yellow brick road to the delicious town. Mediation training. Courses are usually around 28 hours of instruction. You are not going to leave as an expert negotiator, but you will learn a critical skill to help you, and others in your life, resolve interpersonal conflicts. Speaking in front of a crowd. Not having stage fright could only benefit you in almost every situation when it comes to interacting with other human beings. This isn't something you can learn in a few days, in my opinion. I have spoken many times in front of people and the nervousness has never gone away. You have been visited by the romantic doggo. Comment love is magic so you never fall in the friend zone. Like and subscribe, you magnificent person.